Jesus could return in 2025. I mean the rapture, I don't mean the second coming. And the reason why I think that is because there's been a lot of things pointing to his return in the last 15 years or so. I remember a prophecy from 2021 from a woman who reportedly gave a prophecy from something she received. And she was saying that the angel told her in this prophecy, this was during COVID in 2021, that when things start to return to normal, then the Lord will come. And a lot of people during COVID and during that time were wondering, well, is this the end times? And some people woke up. And I felt that a lot of Christians went back to sleep, though, as things started to return to normal. And here we are 4 years later from 2021, after the, lockdowns and certain things, and things weren't very normal around the world and travel restricted. Here we are in 2025. Things definitely started to return to normal now. You can go traveling. You can do, most things as if it was before COVID, mostly, and most things have stabilized. But the thing is, I see that Christians are asleep, basically. And the reason why, and this is what I see, I believe that the number one reason why many Christians will not go in the rapture when Jesus comes, especially if he comes this year. I'm not saying he will come this year, but, with all the signs and things, what if he does? What if he does? So if Jesus comes this year, 2025, I can see the number one reason why Christians wouldn't go is because Jesus isn't their number one priority. That's basically what it is. Like, going to church doesn't automatically mean that Jesus is your priority or that he's your number one in your life. I seem to feel that with a lot of Christians, their number one priority is more their family, their life, getting money to, get a home loan or pay off, pay off debts, pay off bills, move ahead in career, all the things of life that we strive to achieve in this life, just as normal, basic human beings, like all the things that we want to get going in our lives. We want to, like unbelievers would. Yeah, I'm not saying any of these things are bad, and we've all got to, attend to our worldly things, worldly responsibilities. But what I'm saying is that Jesus is not the number one priority. These things are. And yeah, you can go to church and whatever, but it doesn't mean Jesus is your number one priority just because you go to church on Sunday. When Jesus is your number one priority, it's like when you're sitting with a group of people that don't value very highly in the group. So they don't really share things much with you. We've all, been around people like that or groups like that, maybe at work, maybe at school, university or church even. And you get groups of people that are close to each other, but they don't really value you. So they're not going to really share that much with you. They're not really going to include you too much in their little talk. And they're not really going to include you in their whole plans or maybe what they're going to do on the weekend or something that's special to them. And they'll be just sharing amongst each other, but not really with you. That's how Jesus feels. He feels like a bit on the outside for a lot, with a lot of Christians. Their number one priority just really isn't him. So they're not really sharing everything with him. He's not their number one friend. He's not close. They're not close to him. They don't really want to be. They're more distracted about, these other things. They've got lots of people to talk to. They've got their family. They've got plans, futures, holidays, etc., especially with the world returning to normal like it is now. And you know what Jesus will say? He will say, all right, if I'm not really your number one priority, and the rapture comes soon, like this year, then you're just going to be left behind then, not be part of the wonderful things going on in heaven afterwards. You can have the world then, you can have all these things then, you can have your friends in the world, you can have them all, but you're not going to have me. That's how Jesus would feel. He doesn't want that for anyone, but in reality, God's a jealous God, and he wants all our hearts, all our attention. When we do these things of earth, we shouldn't be putting them as the highest priority, like the worldly people do, who don't know God and don't have hope. For them, these things are the highest priorities: to live fun, have a fun life, and to do the things in life that you want to do, and have the family you want to have, and have the career and the money and the houses and the this and that and the other. Like I said, it's not anything wrong with having these things, and this is the part of life, of course. But the thing is, like I said, if Jesus is on the outside of your little group, and your little group is all your houses and friends and people and family and all this, and Jesus is just a bit on the outside, that's how he feels. He feels a bit like rejected, basically. Not special. You're not special. He's not special to you. Like he's not your number one priority. That's why you don't include him in much in your life. And that is the number one reason that Christians will miss the rapture. That is the number one reason, above all the other things. We can be in sins or whatever, but working it out with the Lord, but he's the number one in our life. Very different to just being apathetic. And unfortunately, including in church, a lot of people, like I said, it doesn't matter if you go to church, it doesn't make Jesus number one in your life. You could be praising the Lord with your hands in the air on Sunday, but on Monday through to Saturday, Jesus just isn't important to you. In fact, he may not even be important to you while you're praising him in the church. That's how it can be. It's all a heart thing. And getting back to Jesus coming back, well, the signs are on the wall. He could come back this year, soon, imminently, within our generation is pretty clear, I think, from what's been going on. Israel's approaching this peace treaty and maybe even a two-state solution, perhaps. I don't know. But it seems like, the world is trying to pressure Israel into having a two-state solution. And the more I start to see these things, the more I see the war drums going on, and the things with Russia and China, and the powers are kind of like, really getting, shaking. And the thing is, when I see the world's returning to normal pretty much since COVID, and I remember that prophecy that the lady had from the angel about when the world starts to return to normal, then the Lord will come. Whether that's true and will come to pass, well, time will tell. And when I see all these things, I think, wow, what a time to not to be lukewarm, not to be just apathetic about Jesus. What if he just came this year, and you all get left behind because you're just a bit apathetic. You don't put him as a number one priority. He's a bit out on the outside of your group. Not the special one in your life, put it that way. Despite your faith, despite church attendance, despite your, how saved you think you are and whatever. That's the number one reason why Christians will be left behind. That's all I can say. And we're all guilty of doing it, including myself. We're all guilty of getting caught up in the world and caught up in the things of this life. And, I'm not saying you can't do the things of this life, but what I'm saying is we're all guilty of getting caught up, having these things first over Jesus, basically, where it's not more important to us to pray, and it's not more important to us to to get sin out of our life, and to really be focused on him over our plans and dreams of the future. Really be feeling like we're living in foreigners in the land, rather than just trying to build our kingdom on earth and looking for prosperity and all that. Fine, we've got to have some prosperity. That's a good thing, and it's a gift of God. But the thing is, don't forget, this is what the unbelievers care about. It's the only thing they care about. It's what the world wants. It's money. Money, 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 money. It's all about money, isn't it? And the thing is, if it's all about money for you, and that's the future for you, and you only care about that, then you get left behind. Jesus will come and you won't go. The thing is, after the rapture, it's going to be very bad on earth. It's not going to be a good time. There's going to be a lot of bad things happening. There won't be any more prosperity. People will be struggling to survive. The collapse of the social order, and this civilization is going to come to an end during that time. And it will come to an end forever. It wouldn't surprise me if President Trump, for instance, was the last US president of the United States. The last one. Wouldn't surprise me if that was the case, given the way things are headed. Will we see this year out? Don't know, but maybe not. Maybe not. Thing is, as always, time is short to be getting ready for the Lord. Time is short to be working out that he's your number one priority, and you don't care so much about the world's things you can get and need over him, over that relationship, over that pray time, over that caring about him more than the other things. And we're all guilty of this. We're all guilty of this. We live in the flesh. We only see the world we see. We don't really see spiritual stuff much, or most people don't. And we have the cares of life, and we've got to provide and so on, pay the bills, whatever, right? We're all guilty of getting burdened down by the cares of this life. But Jesus is saying there's another way. Don't be burdened down by it. Put me first. Put Jesus number one priority in your life. Make it the reason why you get up isn't about your weekend hobby. It's about your thirst and hunger for Jesus and his word and his coming rapture and the coming kingdom and the wonderful things of God. And if it's in you that you want to be the bride of Christ, then seek to be the bride of Christ. Because that's not everyone. But if it's in you to want that, then seek that. God will give you the desires of your heart. Amen.